Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Beautiful. I found that most people don't understand the difference between maintenance and standard working procedures. Glad your compliance highlighted their ignorance. Well done, OP. Loss prevention wants us to put in service calls. I work for a printing company, and as I tell a lot of people, much of my job is literally malicious compliance. People wanting things printed despite how they look, spelling and design errors, and just being plain ugly. This is another story that's come up the past 2 weeks. A while ago, one of the other locations absolutely destroyed one of their printers. Toner everywhere. The finisher unit was a hunk of plastic and metal. I genuinely don't know what they did to the machine, but it was FUBAR based on the photo, especially since the toner cartridge is not in the finisher unit. An investigation took place, and it was discovered that rather than calling in printer technicians to repair the machines, some of the company employees were repairing them instead. A company-wide message went out essentially telling everyone not to repair or perform maintenance on the machine ourselves, genuinely common sense things that had to be put on paper because someone did something stupid. We were always supposed to put in service calls to the techs to come take care of the machines, or we will be brought into HR. 3 months later, last week, 2 guys from Loss Prevention, who will be Tweedledum and Tweedledummer, came in to do a regular check-in. Everything was going great until I needed to change the paper in one of the printers. Tweedledum approached me and basically began raking me over the coals, saying that only technicians can open the machines. Of course, I'm dumbfounded because all I'm doing is changing the paper, but just shrug and say, "Sorry, won't happen again." Well, the next day, I was brought into a meeting with HR over a video call, basically wagging their finger at me. My boss, D, took the fall for me and said he was the one to tell me to change the paper, so I got off scot-free and D only got a slap on the wrist. Thankfully so, as this would have been my second write-up in 2 months. The first was a stupid but legitimate mistake on my part. However, as a result of this, the whole facility went into malicious compliance mode after that meeting. Need to change out the paper trays? Service call. Paper jam? Better put in a service call. Need to change the toner? That's a service call. Our output of jobs last week was absolutely in the toilet. Machines were down for nearly 90% of the shifts. The techs were having a field day, however, as they got paid per call they took. While our backlog is through the roof, we were able to make our point eventually. I'm not sure exactly what had been happening in the background, but today I received a handwritten apology from Tweedledum and Tweedledummer with the $50 Visa gift card saying they didn't understand what our job required when they reprimanded me and referred me to HR. We're back at full capacity now and have a huge backlog to catch up on. I'm hoping in addition to this gift card, I can also get in some approved overtime for some extra spending money on an upcoming trip I have planned. The company I work for may be dim at times, but at least they often admit when they make a mistake. Update 1. So I learned a bit more about the situation. The loss prevention people that were involved were the ones directly dealing with the loss of the destroyed printer, and there turned out to be a misunderstanding about everything. My other co-workers in the copy center has gotten into the habit of putting excess paper in the opposite side the paper tray is storage. The tray can hold up to 12 by 18 paper, so when there's 8.5 by 11 in there, they use the extra space for storage. The techs and D has told them not to do that, as they can damage the machine. Whenever I see the excess paper, I take it out. That's what Loss Protection saw, and why they reprimanded me in the first place. They assumed since I was working with the machine, I was the one who put that extra paper in. I learned this when the company assigned Karen was written up and made it rather vocal today. The problem with working with a good company like this is that it takes way too long to get rid of problem employees. And our second story. Youre Asian. You work here. A small bit of background. I'm a 29-year-old Vietnamese-born Canadian woman living in the Toronto area. One of my close friends owns a nail spa and salon that I often visit because I like to be pampered once in a while. Having a friend who owns the place ensures that I receive good treatment. This story takes place in the waiting room of her salon. For context, the waiting room is completely separate from the rest of the businesses. It's at the front of the shop, and you have to go through a door to get to the spa part. They offer various nail services and everything you'd expect from a spa. The owner is Chinese and speaks both English and Cantonese, which is relevant to the story. This incident occurred before 2020. I just arrived at the shop, spoke to my friend, and it was a super slow day with maybe 2 people working, the owner and 1 employee. I was told to wait in the lobby, and of course I did. After about 5 minutes, Karen walks in, plunks herself down on a chair 2 seats away from me, and grabs a magazine. Not even 5 minutes into waiting, Karen grabs my attention with an, "Excuse me." I look up from my phone and say, "Yes." She asks, "How much longer is it going to be?" I don't have a clue, so I say, "Sorry, I don't know," and go back to my phone. After another minute or 2, I hear, in a very Karen tone, "Excuse me." Once again, I look up from my phone and say, yes. Karen says, "Can you stop playing with your phone and book me in? I'm in a hurry. I need my nails done now." I reply, "I don't work here." To which Karen responds, "Yes, you do. Why else would you be in an Asian nail salon?" Well, I said, "What the hell's wrong with you? I'm here for the same reason you are, to get my nails done." "You know the same reason you're here? You don't need to complain at me while waiting in a waiting room in a salon." I give a nice big eye roll, suck my teeth, sit back down, and go back to my phone. About another minute goes by, and my friend comes out and says, "OP, we're ready for you now. Come on back." Karen stands up and starts to walk to the door. My friend immediately knows she's trying to steal my spot and says, "Sorry, I was calling my friend over there." Karen insists, "No, it's my appointment." Well, it didn't work the way she wanted. My friend tells her to take a seat and she'll be right back. On the way back, I tell my friend exactly what happened, speaking in Cantonese. I am multilingual, and I ask her not to serve her. I even offered to pay double for her not to serve Karen. My friend says, "Nah, don't worry, I got you." She goes back out to help Karen. Also, remember, it was a very slow day. My friend asks her how she can help, and Karen says she needs her nails done. My friend asks if she has an appointment. She doesn't. My friend then says, "Unfortunately, we have no openings today, but you're welcome to wait for a cancellation." Karen agrees. Karen's still in the waiting room when my hour-long appointment finishes. My friend later calls me that night and says she waited 2 hours before leaving in a huff. And our next story. Hit a bike? Lose your house. Many years ago, in a land a few blocks away, I loved to ride my bicycle. Single mother, no car. It was nothing really special, but it got me all over town. I mostly kept on sidewalks because traffic can be filled with too many entitled drivers. I got to a corner and saw a car coming up the side street to the stop sign. The driver slowed way down, so I assumed he would stop where he was supposed to. He didn't. My bad, because I had already started to ride my bike off the curb into the street in front of him. You guessed it, crunch. I squirmed my way from under the rest of my bike and the car and started checking myself for injuries. Just a bruised knee, so I was very lucky. The driver got out of his car and yelled at me for being in his way, didn't ask if I was okay, and I yelled at him for running a stop sign. A passerby checked on me and called the police. While I was safely back on the sidewalk with the passerby, the driver pulled his car about 5 to 6 feet forward, dragging my bike. I think he knew he was in trouble, so he altered the accident site to look like he was already around the corner, because when the police came, that's what he told them. He said he stopped, proceeded around the corner, and I just barreled out into his path. The police officer asked for my story, and I asked him to ask the driver to back his car up a bit, and I'd show the officer exactly where we both were at the time of the accident. He was wondering how I could be so positive, but then once the driver moved his car, I pointed to the scrapes in the street that my bike had made when I was hit. The driver got the ticket, and I got his information. I wrote several letters to him asking him to replace my bike, but he ignored them. I finally had to take him to small claims court to be compensated for my squished bike. He didn't show up. The judge reviewed all my evidence and awarded me the cost of the new bike plus pain and suffering for my bruised knee. The court served him those papers, but he ignored them too. Now I'm frustrated. No money, no bike. And the real entitlement begins. I found another secondhand bike and I start riding around town again. I decide to pedal by the driver's house just because I'm curious, and there's a for sale sign on his lawn. So he's trying to move and make a getaway just to avoid paying me? I went home, gathered all my paperwork regarding the judgment, and head to the courthouse. There, I filed a lien against his house for the judgment amount. Then I called his realtor and informed her of the judgment and lien. She called the driver. Now, 6 months or so after the accident, I finally hear from the driver. He called and threatened me over the phone, telling me he had witnesses who could prove I was wrong about how the accident happened. I informed him that the time to have brought those witnesses was at the court date, which he missed. He told me that I better take the lien off his house. I refused. He tried to tell me he could sell it, then he would pay me. I told him that's not the way it works. Pay me, and I take the lien off. He growled something and hung up on me. 2 months later, I get a call from the realtor who wants to stop by and drop off a check. I sign the lien release and get a cashier's check. My kids had a great Christmas. Edit. For all those who are wondering, his actual ticket was for not having insurance, not for hitting a pedestrian in a crosswalk. He's definitely the type of person you don't want to run into. Unfortunately, he has no problem driving into others. And our last story. Getting harassed by HOA I'm not a part of. So I purchased my property in a quasi-non-voluntary HOA and for sale. I cleared the liens, which were disclosed prior to my purchase, and have been fixing up the property. I'm currently living in an RV I have parked in the front yard. I have it up on concrete blocks, totally in violation of the HOA, but I'm not a member. The interior of the house is not livable, pretty bad hoarding situation, and I have a standing order with the trash company to have a 10-yard bin that gets swapped out every Friday. I predict another 2 to 3 months until that service can be canceled. The dumpster every week is on top of bags of clothing that goes to Goodwill and all the crap I put up on Craigslist and eBay for sale. Plus, I have enough shampoo and conditioner to keep my hair silky smooth and smelling of springtime for the next 50 years. The HOA has been harassing me to join. I thought we settled the argument, but screw them. They also attempted to have my RV towed off my front yard. Fortunately, I'd already made efforts to prevent it from being towed. Namely, I called the towing company, the HOA, had a contract with my lawyer, explained the situation. They also started sending me fines in the mail, and I'm adding them to the harassment file. Not being dumb enough to be sued, the towing company agreed that they wouldn't tow any vehicle from any space that could be defined as 123 Oak Street without my direct authorization, including but not limited to the driveway, garage, front yard, or street in front of 123 Oak Street. We also saw a way for them to profit from the situation. This is my pro-revenge on them. We have a standing deal that they can drive the tow truck to my house, then they knock on my door and ask if I called the tow. If I say no, they charge the HOA for wasting their time. And if I don't answer, they can still charge the HOA for wasting their time. The towing company hit them for about $500 before they caught on to the deal they made with me. Some good news, I've successfully gotten into the bathroom and cleaned out all the children's clothing and decades-old pizza boxes and bags of onion peels. So after a great deal of elbow grease, I might actually be able to shower in my house soon. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.